Hey, I'm Lana from Lana Glowshot Art, and in this video, we're unboxing the September 2026 SketchBox. This month's box is all about exploring a fun vintage color palette. Ready to get into it? Let's go. The surface in this month's box is the SketchBox Signature Vintage Toned Paper. This paper is made in Italy and features a beautiful natural grain texture with dark wool fibers that add depth and character. At 250 GSM, these sturdy sheets are perfect for a mixed media approach. Next, we have two Faber-Castell watercolor pencils in orange glaze and green gold. These artist quality pencils can be used just like traditional colored pencils, adding some beautiful texture and expressive mark making to your artwork, or you can explore their water-soluble qualities by activating them with the size 3 SketchBox Signature Pointed Filbert Brush. This incredibly versatile brush combines the traditional filbert shape with a narrow pointed tip, allowing you to create clean, fine lines while also being able to effortlessly apply broad, expressive strokes and smooth watercolor washes. As you activate your pencils with water, keep in mind that you get to decide how much pencil texture to keep. Use fewer brush strokes and a little less water for more visible strokes, or blend more thoroughly with a bit more pressure from your brush for a smoother watercolor effect. Beginning with the green gold watercolor pencil, let's sketch in a Monstera plant. For this sketch, I started with a simple cylinder for the pot, then loosely blocked in a few organic heart shapes for the leaves. On a real Monstera, the larger leaves typically sit higher on the plant, but don't worry too much about botanical accuracy here. Instead, focus on creating an interesting composition. Let your leaves overlap and face slightly different directions to add variety and depth to your piece. One of the nice things about these watercolor pencils is that they're erasable while dry, so if you're not happy with your initial sketch, now is the perfect time to make adjustments. Once I was pleased with my layout, I added a touch of orange glaze to the pot, and I built up a little more green gold on the leaves. Then I activated everything with water to soften the pencil marks and establish a light base layer. And once this layer was dry, I added a center vein to each leaf along with a few guidelines that branched outward. These simple guide marks will help us define the characteristic shape of the Monstera leaves while we begin painting. Our next supply is a tube of Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolor in Viridian Hue. This transparent emerald green was specifically selected to complement this month's vintage color palette. Because it is such a rich, saturated color, it's helpful to explore a few different ways to soften its intensity. One way to do this is by adding water. Here, I'm creating a simple value scale beginning with full strength Viridian Hue at the top, then gradually adding more water as I work down each section. As the value becomes lighter, the color also feels less intense, giving you a range of softer greens that are perfect for creating subtle washes and for adding variety to your painting. Our next supply is a 2-ounce jar of Daniel Smith Walnut ink. This ink has a beautiful rich brown color that's made from walnut husks. This is a wonderful supply on its own for sketching, painting, or lettering, and it's also a fantastic companion to watercolor. Even though it's called an ink, I find it helpful to think of it more like a watercolor product. The walnut ink can be lifted and reactivated in a way that's much more like watercolor than traditional India ink. And it mixes beautifully into watercolors, creating a really sophisticated color palette with a unique finish and texture. Here, I'm creating an intensity scale with the walnut ink on one side and the Viridian Hue watercolor on the other. When making a scale like this, the goal is to create smooth, even transitions between the two colors. But the added bonus is that you get to discover new, vintage-inspired greens that you can use in your artwork. And while we're exploring color, don't forget about those watercolor pencils. They can be activated with washes of walnut ink or watercolor, or layered over dry paint to create new colors. Take some time and get curious to see how many different color combinations you can create. When you combine your materials together, you'll discover a wide range of subtle neutrals and beautifully muted greens that will help you create a really rich, balanced palette. Now, let's continue building our Monstera painting. I begin with a diluted mixture of Viridian Hue and Walnut ink, and I lightly sweep it over the leaves. As I do, I carefully paint the characteristic holes in the leaf, following the guidelines that I added earlier. I really try to stay loose here and embrace little mistakes. If I accidentally lose one of those holes, it's no big deal. I simply paint another one a little lower. As you paint your leaves, pay attention to the different kinds of marks that your brush can make. I used more pressure and more of the side of the brush to cover the large areas of the leaves, and then I switched to just the pointed tip when I get into those smaller details in the stems. While those greens are drying, I brush a light wash of walnut ink over the orange pot to soften the color, and this also adds a little more depth. Then I use undiluted walnut ink to deepen the shadow beneath the pot and in a few areas on the leaves to give the painting a little bit more contrast and dimension. Our final supplies are the SketchBox Signature brush liners in Woodstock Brown and Bell-Bottom Blue. These brush liners create a wide range of marks and can be used delicately to add precision and detail, or more expressively to bring energy and texture to your work. My favorite feature is that these are waterproof once dry, which means that I can paint right over the top of them without worrying about the lines smudging or lifting. When I return to the Monstera piece, I begin with Bell-Bottom Blue and start refining the shape of the leaves. I intentionally avoid outlining every edge, which can make the drawing feel a little stiff. Instead, I vary my line weight and I add outlines only to select areas of each leaf. This creates a much more dynamic and natural looking finished piece. Next, I switch to the Woodstock Brown. I begin adding a little detail to the pot and then carry that same color throughout the leaves to help unify the piece. I also use it to suggest a few more holes. Remember, there's no rule that says you're finished with the supply once you've used it. You can continue bouncing back and forth between your watercolor pencils, your wet media, and your brush liners. Experiment with different marks, textures, and layers, and give yourself permission to keep developing the piece. Often it's that extra round of exploration that takes a painting from simply colored in to something that feels much richer and more complete. The prompt for this month is, of course, vintage. So let's combine all of our supplies and create a vintage-inspired room. I started with very light pressure using my green gold watercolor pencil, and I focused on basic shapes to map out my composition. I used several different reference images as inspiration for this piece and leaned into my imagination to create this composition. And I'll be honest, this wasn't my first attempt. I explored a variety of different objects and arrangements before landing on a composition that felt balanced and inviting. Once I felt confident with the placement of my objects, I switched to the orange glaze pencil to refine my drawing and to lightly block in those areas that I wanted to be orange. At this stage, I'm simply testing color relationships, so I keep this layer soft and transparent, which makes it much easier to adjust later if I decide something needs to change. When it came time to activate the watercolor pencils, I used both clean water and diluted washes of walnut ink. The ink mixes beautifully with the orange glaze and creates a really warm, muted neutral that fits perfectly with the palette. I also use the diluted washes on their own to block in the shadows on the back wall and under the table and chair. Introducing the walnut ink early also establishes it as a mother color. A mother color is a color that gets repeated throughout a painting in different mixtures. And using a color this way creates harmony and cohesion across the entire palette. If you'd like to learn a little more about this concept, be sure to check out the June 2026 SketchBox video where I dive into how a mother color works in much greater detail. As you build up your base layer, remember to preserve your lightest lights. In this piece, I intentionally left parts of the back wall and sections of the framed artwork untouched, so that there would be a few areas of that beautiful toned paper exposed in the final piece. Keeping your lights reserved is especially important when the darkest color in your palette isn't a true black. Here, I'm mapping out my darkest values with the walnut ink, concentrating them beneath the chair and the table. Even at full strength, walnut ink doesn't reach the same depth as a true black. In fact, it's only about 60 to 70% of the way there. We also have toned paper instead of white paper and no white supplies. So without a true white or a true black, our value options are going to be much more limited. One of the advantages of working this way is that your finished piece develops a softer, cozier feel. Without the full value range, your palette feels more muted and harmonious, and this really fits our vintage theme beautifully. But the trade-off is that you have a smaller range of values to work with. So placing your darkest values throughout and reserving your lights becomes even more important. While that layer of walnut ink dries, I begin blocking in the plants with Viridian Hue. And I mix just a touch of walnut ink into that watercolor to soften the green and to continue carrying that mother color throughout the painting. I also incorporated some of the green gold and orange watercolor pencil from the original sketch into those greens so that each plant had a little bit of a unique color. Now I can really start to see how these colors and values are working together, which means it's time to make some bigger, more confident decisions with both the color and the mark making. I begin by intensifying the oranges in the chair and bringing a little more saturation to the rug and the hanging planter. As I layer my watercolor pencils here, I'm thinking carefully about the kinds of marks that I'm making and how they can help describe each object. So the stripes on the pot are much more structured and are left less blended, while the marks on the chair are curved and softened a bit more with water to better suggest the look and feel of the fabric. At this point, the piece has this soft, cozy feeling that I was hoping for, but when I step back, I really want more structure and definition. So I reach for the brush liners, beginning with Woodstock Brown. On the chair, I'm focusing my marks more on those seams and textural details, and I'm layering lines in the shadow areas to create a stronger sense of depth. I also vary my marks to describe the different materials. The pillow gets softer lines, while the woven base of the chair receives a more structured mark that suggests its basket-like texture. For the hanging macrame planter, I found that less is more. Since it isn't the focal point of the composition, there's no need to draw every knot and strand. Instead, I simply suggest the cord and a bit of texture, keeping my lines light and intentionally avoiding outlining every detail. After establishing the brown line work throughout the piece, I switch over to the bell-bottom blue and pull touches of this color throughout the plants. I don't want the foliage and the plants to feel disconnected from the rest of the composition though, so I continue weaving in some brown marks as well. As I mentioned earlier, my very favorite feature of these brush liners is that they're waterproof once dry, and I can continue layering watercolor washes or activating additional watercolor pencil without losing any of the structure that I just established. And even though I chose to use this material towards the end of this painting, you could just as easily have introduced the brush liner much earlier and built on that structure. So play around with the order that you use these materials in this month. The last part of this painting looks like it's moving really fast, but one thing that gets edited out are the moments where I stop, step back, and ask myself what the piece still needs. Sometimes it's another layer of color, a few more lines, or simply deciding to leave an area alone. Give yourself permission to pause or even walk away and come back a little bit later with fresh eyes. This can make such a big difference. And now this piece is complete. I hope you learned a ton about working with this unique vintage color palette, and we can't wait to see what you create. So be sure to use the hashtag SketchBoxSeptember when you post your work online. For more unboxing videos and tutorials, you can check out our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.